We shall go live on Facebook.
We shall.
All right, ready?
I'm ready.
Kick it.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1, and
Live. Boom. All right. We're back. The Life on Life's Terms podcast. And I'm Tom Robinson. And like I always say, we're not affiliated with any 12-step program, although we do advocate them.
Yes. I am Chris Mandeville. We are here at a New Way Recovery Center in Quincy, Mass. on Quincy Ave.
Once again.
Yes. Who is very gracious enough to let us use this facility to provide you with this podcast. And if you want to subscribe, please share this video. Please subscribe. LOLTerms.com is our website.
Please subscribe to the audio podcast.
Yes, because this is our Facebook live feed, but we also have 40, how many?
Right now there's 45, I think.
45 speakers that you can listen to on our audio podcast. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on Google Play. We have a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah.
If you want to see a different angle of us.
Yeah, it's kind of hurting, but we keep doing it.
So, yes, please share the video, subscribe. I think this is actually doing pretty well as of late. Our last guest was quite compelling. And
yeah, it was fantastic.
Yes.
Podcast, very moving.
Yes,
and,
we got a lot
message.
of feedback on it, and it was really great. So, tonight we have Kristen. And she is going to share her story with us, and we'll turn it over to her.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thanks for doing it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Well, it's great to be doing this at New Way. I'm very comfortable here because I'm a volunteer here. My sobriety date is September 25th, 2017.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we didn't give you the spiel. So you speak into the side of the microphone.
Okay.
If you could just go back a little bit and bring the microphone to you. Bring your chair back.
Yeah, you can get comfortable.
Like that?
No, actually push the chair back towards the wall.
There you go.
And then this would go there. There you go.
Sorry
everybody.
Guys.
All right.
So, yeah, September 25th, 2017.
Nice.
I was busted up. I was a mere shell of the person that I had been at one point, and I was pretty much unrecognizable. Further in my story, I'll explain that when people saw me after I had actually gotten my act together somewhat, I didn't even look like the same person. So back in September of 2017, I didn't appear like this. I was very, very broken.
Like most of us are when we come
in.
Right?
Yeah.
Pretty badly mangled, like it says in the
I was
badly mangled, exactly.
on the side of the highway on 95 North in Greenwich, Connecticut, passed out next to my car during rush hour traffic with a blood alcohol of 0.5.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I don't remember this, of course.
Yeah.
I woke up in the hospital, and I was intubated. I was on a ventilator. I had OD'd on alcohol and pills. And I didn't know where I was, how I had gotten there. I was in transit from Nashville, Tennessee, on my way up to see my family in Rhode Island. And I was driving blackout.
You were driving? Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Were you living
Tennessee?
in Nashville?
I had I've spent the prior 17 years in Nashville, Tennessee. I've kind of lived all over the place. So I'm originally from Rhode Island.
I can relate to that. I drove across the country. I went back out to Seattle to get a car that I had left there, and before I left, I bought a whole bunch of drugs. And I was just by myself.
To go get a car.
Yeah.
Was the car worth it?
No, I bought them in Seattle and drove back with them.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And, oh, boy.
Yeah. I usually didn't drive drunk. I mean, towards the end of my addiction, I did sometimes, but I wasn't like a historical drunk driver. I usually didn't put myself in situations like that, but this was just another jackpot or whatever. The miracle of it is that I didn't die. I didn't kill anybody else. I didn't even get a DUI because I wasn't in my car. when they found me. I was
Well, that's a
outside
good
of my
thing.
car. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you must have
And
took the keys with you.
Yeah, I woke up in the hospital. I didn't know how I got there, what had happened. I knew the police had brought me in. All I knew is that I wanted another drink. And I tore the ventilator out of my throat. I got out of my restraints first and took out my IVs. And this nurse and doctor came running out of nowhere and were like, where are you going? What are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm a physician.
AMA.
I'm a physician assistant. So I'm like, oh, what are you guys? I'm a medical person, whatever. And they're just like trying to pin me back down. And, but something has always had my back. I'll call it God now, but I didn't know how to identify it at the time. But the fact that, again, I didn't kill myself, I didn't kill anybody else, I didn't get arrested, I didn't go to jail, and I managed to wake up in the hospital and be well enough to drive to Rhode Island, to be readmitted to another hospital 3 days later, but still, something has always had my back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kept you out of those big scrapes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've still had, that big.
I was what you call a teabag Catholic. I only prayed when I was in hot water.
Right.
Like, please, God, don't let this cop pull me over.
Yeah.
Don't have him look in my left shoe. Like,
Pocket Jesus.
Yes, yes. Trunk God.
Right, Trunk God. Yeah. Well, Trunk God had saved me from some other predicaments, too. Not just, my kind of lifelong battle with alcohol and pills. In 2012, I was diagnosed. Well, in 2010, I was diagnosed with cancer. It went metastatic in 2012.
Metastatic?
Yeah,
What
stage
does that
4. It spread. It was melanoma, so it spread from my skin to my organs.
A good friend of mine passed away quite quickly from that.
It's very
recently.
aggressive. Yeah, I had spindle cell melanoma. It went stage 4. I was given 6 months to live in 2012. And here I am still here. So again, something has always had my back, and this thing that had my back put me on an experimental clinical trials drug at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, where I was living. I was on this chemo for 4 years. It wasn't like an automatic miracle, but it did save my life. And in my own case, cancer was relatively easy for me to beat. Not really. I mean, I don't know. I was lucky with the cancer, but I decided if I was going to die, I was going out with a bang. Yeah. So, I couldn't work as a PA anymore. I was depressed. I had some other personal things going on.
Well,
and I
the
picked
chemo,
up heavy.
Like the chemo is
well, it's depressing
vicious.
in itself, yeah.
It's vicious. I've seen people that were diagnosed, started treatment, couldn't do it, couldn't stay sober, couldn't live, and finished the treatment and then ended up dying from drugs.
Yeah. Well, that very nearly happened to me. And you think if you have a new lease on life that, you'd turn it around and I'm trying to do that now, of course. But at the time, I physically could not stop drinking.
That's the power of alcoholism and addiction. Yeah. It's
and pills as well.
Way more powerful than us.
I had an on and off. As a medical provider, I had very easy access at work to, back in the 90s, they used to sample us OxyContin, Lortab, Perks. It would come in. I would sign for. I had a DEA number. I'm a PA. I would sign for them. We didn't need them at work. We didn't use them, so I would take them home. Yeah. And then my hustle was writing myself prescriptions, which I ended up getting in trouble for and have to go to the program. They call it the Bad Nurse Program.
Yeah,
so
5 years.
For 5 years. Yeah, I did that.
The DEA number?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yep.
That means you can write prescriptions? Is that what it is? Oh,
right.
Okay.
Narcotics as well.
Yeah, you can hold narcotics.
Yeah, a PA is like a nurse practitioner or, like a kind of in between a nurse and a doctor. I guess,
yeah,
like
next step down.
So, I have a master's degree. So I managed to put some stuff together before, my addiction went totally out of control.
Yeah.
But
blackout exams.
Yeah, that never quite happened. But hopefully it never will.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had managed to put a little bit together earlier in my life. I'm one of these that it kind of like the crap hit the fan when I was in my 40s.
Wow.
but looking back, I think I've been an addict since I was a little girl. I've always had something, even if it was I was locked in my room playing my accordion compulsively, like a giant nerd. I used to compulsively pull my hair out when I was younger. I always had something that was like a stress reliever or like a distraction,
something to get out of. Self.
Yeah. I always had to get out of my head. I always had that proverbial hole in the soul that you know.
And I was always I wanted attention. I didn't care if it was good or bad. Just focus on me.
Yeah.
So you're saying that although you drank, it never really became a problem, or you didn't
not for
drink
a long time.
You didn't use that as an escape to fill the hole in the soul for a long time.
Well, not so much the drinking. Now, when I was 27, my dad, who was also an alcoholic, committed suicide. And it was a grisly death. I won't go into details, but it was bad, and he was found over a week later. And I had just started working as a PA, and I had access to all these free samples of anything, or I could write a prescription or whatever. And so my first real problem was pills, actually, and I fell into that. I was filling the void with pills, absolutely.
Because they just numb everything.
They were handy,
and
and I could take them at work. Because they were at work, and that spiraled out of control and got me in trouble. And
and then you're like, oh, hey, Miss Johnson, here's your medication. Let me just take this one out.
Here
you go.
Right. It was even, at one point I actually found a bag. I swear, I was at this job for 7 years. At one point I found a bag in the back of a samples closet. It was a hefty lawn and leaf bag. The supervising physician I work with did missionary work in Mexico. And all the doctors in town in Louisiana where I was living, they would give us all their extra samples. And it turned out that there were a lot of Lortab hydrocodone, which is kind of like this. They take it more that they tend to take perks up here in the north and hydrocodone down in the south.
Yeah, I knew some people that from California, and they were like Lortabs. They call them Soma.
Oh, Soma's a muscle relaxant. That's something different, but they kind of.
I heard Lortabs all the time.
Yeah. So I found a bag of 10,000 Lortab samples that were unaccounted for, that had been sitting there for a few years, that nobody knew about. 10,000. It was a hefty lawn and leaf bag that was completely full of individual blister wrap pills. And what started with me taking a few home, because I was like, oh, when I had my wisdom teeth out, I took those. I could sleep like a baby.
Yes.
These are awesome. This is because I'm having bad dreams about my dad and just the whole, what had happened with him. Started taking those, and it spiraled out of control. To fast forward a few years later, I'm taking 120 pills a day, and I don't have Flacco. I'm not calling up my dealer. I'm my own dealer, so it was very isolating. I was married at the time. My husband knew I was sleeping a lot and something was wrong with me. He didn't know. My coworkers didn't know. They obviously must have known something was wrong with me. But I mean, there was nobody I used with. There was nobody I bought them from. It was just this thing I was doing on my own. And I felt
10,000 pills.
Yeah. So 120 pills a day. You've multiplied over 6 or 7 years. That's about I took them all. I never even crossed my mind that I could sell them. I mean, I don't really. At least at that time, I didn't really have that kind of mindset. I didn't really need the money. I was making good money as a provider. But I just
usually a monkey can't sell bananas. So.
Right? And why would I sell them? I needed them. I needed them.
But so you had this episode when you were in your 20s. Did you reel it back for a while after that?
I did. I actually locked myself. There came the day I was fired from my job, and I left my husband on the same day. And I decided Louisiana was the problem. So I got in my car and I drove towards my best friend's house. He lives in Minneapolis, and stopped in Arkansas. Locked myself in a hotel room for 2 weeks, and I kicked by myself.
I bet you that was
it
fun.
It was horrible. Nobody knew where I was. This is in the days before. I mean, I think I might have had a cell phone, but most people didn't. This was in 1999.
Benzos or just opiates?
Opiates.
Okay.
But very, very, very high dose. And so I was like train spotting. Train spotting?
Oh, yeah.
I was like that.
Oh, yeah, the baby on the ceiling.
But I felt like that. I was
swimming in the toilet.
I was sitting in the shower of the hotel room by the drain, with the shower on me, just having diarrhea into the drain, just rocking and not being able to move. I mean, it was horrible. And so after that kick, it was an absolute nightmare. They didn't even have Suboxone back then, I don't think, but I was too ashamed to even go ask for help.
Right.
Yeah. So I kicked and I got that sort of under control. It did kind of rear its ugly head a few years later, but then I was like, well, I'm just going to have to drink now, you know. And I even started, I mean, I was drinking NyQuil, I was drinking whatever, you know, like everybody was keeping an eye on me and I never.
Just trying to supplement it with something else.
You know.
You know, you don't have your solution no more and your skin's crawling and you can't sit with self.
Yep.
You know,
exactly.
Restless, irritable, discontent.
Absolutely.
Or just take
drunk,
the feeling.
Rid missile. Yeah, absolutely. And so it took a few years, but eventually the pill problem kind of crept back. I got a job in a pain clinic, which was stupid.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. What?
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's the idea.
Right. Well, you know, it paid well and whatever.
Another addict grand scheme.
Yeah, and
there
I was like
go.
a Nazi when it came to the patients. I mean, I was onto every scam they had because
right.
I was just like,
Oh, really? I don't think so.
Right. You know, so for a long time, I was the one that the provider they didn't want to see because I was on to every American Airlines lost your luggage. Yeah, like whatever. You know. But eventually it came back, and
the
it
dog
never
ate
was
your oxys.
right. Yeah, right. Yeah, whatever. But the alcohol was always there, and it eventually spiraled to it was mainly. And then mixing the alcohol and the pills, especially when I was getting them. I knew how to work my oncologist pretty well. You know, when I had this severe cancer pain, that it was very questionable.
I mean, how can they tell you what your pain is?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, and having worked as a PA in a pain clinic, and you know
exactly what to say.
Being a good sneaky addict, yeah.
All right, so
master manipulator.
So the 20s was the dad thing,
right?
When was the cancer?
It was in 2012, so I was in my 40s.
40s, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, and it kind of got to the point where it was a combination. It was alcohol. In 2017, I want to say I overdosed 6 times.
Wow.
Probably, I think 4 of the times was a mixture of booze and pills, and 2 of the times was just alcohol. But like I said, below a 0.5. You know, Amy Winehouse died when she had a 0.4. So yeah, somebody high-fived me the other day when I did a commitment somewhere. He's like, "Oh, I'm in the 5-0 club too," and I'm like, "I've never heard of that."
The 5-0 club.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not proud of that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but
that's pretty intoxicated.
Yeah, it was just gruesome. You know, I was just a mere shell of this person. I had strived to do well in school, and
So
at one point
consider that social drinking.
It was a very unsociable drinking.
And like it's crazy. You can see someone who runs around and shoots heroin or fentanyl or whatever every day, and I just think watching someone die through alcohol is horrible.
Yeah, it's
ugly.
really bad.
Oh, like I remember back in the day when I was in Quincy Monday night and all that, and one of the old timers, Eddie. He lived over on Water Street.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Just drank himself to death, and like my sponsor was like, "No, you're not going in there. Like, you can't go see that." Because we had got the news, or no one had heard from him, and we went over there, and he was like, "No, you don't want to go in there."
Yeah.
You know, because he was like a big guy, rode a motorcycle, and like by this time he was just withered away to nothing. We brought him to the VA one time and told him, he said he was going to kill himself just so we could get him in treatment. Well, we were like, "You got to go with this." He's like, "Fuck that!" Like big war guy. He's like, "No way, I ain't saying that." And we're like, "Yeah, he said he's going to kill himself. He's going to jump off the roof right now." Okay, see you later. Bye, Eddie. But it was the only way you could get him in.
Yeah, right.
But I just think watching someone kill themselves by drinking is just terrible.
They have this.
It's all terrible.
This thing called esophageal varices.
Oh,
this is where your throat bubbles out inside of itself, inside your esophagus, and then bursts, or can burst.
Yeah, it's also called Barrett's esophagitis, and it's actually varicose veins around your esophagus. And like you said, if you vomit or retch, it's from like vomiting a lot.
Yeah.
You can actually explode them. And you'll bleed to death.
Bleed out.
Vomiting
unless
blood.
Unless you're in a hospital, you're pretty much going to die.
Yeah, so you're going to aspirate on blood.
Yeah.
And
Or need a blood transfusion
Yes.
and die of
Yeah.
like exsanguination, or just bleeding to death.
yeah, and your
Right.
belly's
Yeah.
full of blood.
Yeah. It's gruesome.
Ugh.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me a
So-
fucking set of works and a bag of dope. See ya. Over.
Yeah, alcohol's like not that bad, right?
Yeah.
Alcohol's
Yeah,
not
right.
really a drug. I
Right.
mean, it's everywhere, It must be acceptable, except that it is probably the most evil and insidious substance there is.
Yep. And it's been an issue for a long time because they talk about it in the Bible as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like way back.
Well, I think the
Well,
problem.
water into wine, right?
Mm.
Well, I think the problem is that a lot of people can drink and be fine, and then there's a select few of us who drink and get esophageal varices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because you're only gonna have one.
Yeah, and then you'll close the bar
Yeah.
Right.
every night this week.
Okay. So
Or stay
Anyway.
at the bar for 3 days. I did
Yeah.
that once. I
Yeah.
slept at the bar. They let me. Good friends.
oh, I'm sure that was a fine establishment.
Yeah, right.
We got a
Of
cot in
course.
the back.
Oh yeah, I only drink at the finest establishments.
Yep. Put some of those seat cushions on the kegs back there.
Right. Oh my God.
So now we're up to where?
So they dragged me off the side of the highway. I ended up in basically within a week or so. I was in. I went to treatment. Now I had gone to rehab one prior time in Nashville in 2016, and
So that was the only other time in your entire.
that I had been to rehab. I had been to detox a couple
Okay.
of times.
Hmm.
But
But that wasn't. Was it to get sober or just?
the detoxes were kind of spin dries.
Yes.
I was kind
Same
of
as me.
half-ass serious about it in rehab the first time, but there were certain things I held back. Well, first of all, we just did steps 1, 2, and 3, and they were kind of half-ass. It wasn't, like it was a state-run program in Tennessee.
Yeah.
I made some good friends there, and I learned a bit. The self-knowledge avails you nothing shit. I mean,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
definitely applicable there. And I also was very reluctant to talk about my pill addiction, because I didn't want to lose my physician assistant license. I thought somebody might report me.
Oh,
Yeah.
That ended up happening anyway. I mean, not because of that, whatever. But I mean, it was something that I should have just been on. So I wasn't 100% honest.
Yeah. You lied by omission.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah.
Didn't reveal that.
Yeah, I
Right,
just
so they
kept
can't
that to
help you with
myself,
it.
and you can't do that in this program. You gotta be brutally
Yep.
honest.
Well, if
And
somebody
so,
doesn't know about a problem, how are they going to help you? with it?
right, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just related. It was shame, and it was feeling like a failure, and some of it too. In certain circles, if somebody finds out you can write prescriptions and they're a drug addict, they're not gonna leave you alone. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's
That's a
put me
good
in some
point.
situations that that were potentially very bad for both of us.
Yep.
So anyway, I after that stint in rehab, I did what they told me to do. I did 90 meetings in 90 days. I found a home group. There's a place in Nashville called 202 House that has meetings almost 24/7. If you want to do 90 meetings in 10 days, you could do it.
Yeah,
Just go
right,
there and
right.
stay there
Wow.
all day, and it's different kinds of groups.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
so
they
I
got
would
some.
hang out at 202, and yeah.
They get some down the Cape here.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that would be this. They got the clubhouse over in West Bridgewater.
Mm.
But like everywhere else in the country, they're everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
we
Nashville's
need a
full of
clubhouse.
drunks. I mean,
Yeah,
duh.
yeah.
We need a clubhouse
musicians.
in Quincy
Yeah.
Yeah.
with a coffee shop in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
202 has a coffee shop in it.
Yeah.
So I did that. I found the home group. I made coffee at the home group. I found a sponsor, and then she brought me through the steps again. When I got to step 4, I was like, ooh, I don't know about this. And I started balking, and I ended up, and I relapsed. I white-knuckled it for about 5 months, and I relapsed. And when I relapsed, like we know, you pick up exactly where you left off, and then it gets even worse. And then,
Yep.
and then, so anyway, fast forward to, I'm on the side of the highway. I get to Lakeshore in October of 2017. I was in detox for 3.5 weeks after that
Wow.
at Butler Hospital in
Wow.
Providence. Yeah, that's how messed up I was. It was
That's
bad.
That's a long stint for
yeah,
detox.
for detox.
And did you
Yeah.
go to a stabilization after that, or from there to?
From there to Lakeshore, yeah. And it was funny, I almost didn't go, because my insurance doesn't pay for rehab. And so the people at Butler, they were nice, and they're like, well, we're going to put you in the sober house, and you're going to go to our IOP. And in the back of my head, I'm already prelapsing, I'm already I'm going to get my
Relapse.
car back. I'm going to be able to drive
Yeah.
from the IOP to the sober house. And I already knew I was going to go to the liquor store. Like, I didn't want to, but I already
Yeah.
knew it was going to happen.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
I already, and I was honest about, at least I was like, no, I think I actually need to go to rehab again. And they're like, your insurance won't pay for it. And I'm like, well, I just sold my house in Nashville. I'll pay for it myself. Like, I'm going to have to come out of pocket and pay for it myself because I don't want to die. I didn't die of cancer. I'm here on borrowed time. The fact that I'm still alive after having stage 4 metastatic melanoma is an absolute miracle. Yeah. I'm not going to blow it, so I have to do this. And so they were like, well, here's an 800 number, make some phone call. We can't even refer you since you don't have insurance. And so I'm at the nurse's station in my Johnny with my ass hanging out on the phone, calling phone numbers, and eventually I ended up on the phone with Jeff Chasen, who got me into Lakeshore.
Jeffrey.
Yeah. He's an absolute lifesaver. Would call and check on me every day. He'd talk to my parents. They helped me get up there, and I was at Lakeshore for 6 months. My 30-day stint turned into 6 months, but I needed that. Yeah. And the money I spent there was well worth it. It really wasn't that much when you consider,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Drop in the bucket compared to having your life back.
Oh, you can't buy.
Can you put a price on that? Yeah.
You can't. No.
Absolutely. All the money in the world is worthless.
No. After I started getting well, I actually paid it forward and sponsored somebody. I tried to make it anonymous. She knows who she is, but I actually helped somebody else go through the program that couldn't afford it because I believed in it so much.
Right.
And I was at the point where I really wanted to help others and say, thank you, God. Like, I
if you have
the
means,
Yeah, I did at the time. So I was there for 6 months. It took me 3 months to write my 4th step. It was 2,200 pages long. I think that was a record. It took 40 hours for me to read my 5th step.
What that's a work week.
Yeah, it was 3 12-hour shifts and a 4. Yeah, so we banged that out, and then I started making amends. Wow. I went to phase 2 there and started making amends, and the amends that meant, I still have a lot of amends to make back in Nashville, and I've lived in, I went to college in Hawaii, I went to med school in D.C., I've lived a lot of other places that I owe some amends to, definitely in Louisiana when I was taking the pills. The amends that was like my spiritual drop kick or whatever, because when I came out of my 5th step, I was like, some people I saw come upstairs and they were like, they had seen God or whatever. They just had this amazing thing happen, and I felt like I was unburned, but I didn't feel like, whoa, like Bill Wilson with the light shining down from heaven or whatever.
You
I was just like
fucking spilled your guts for 40 hours.
Yeah, I was just relieved. Yeah. I was like, all right, well, I feel better. Now what? Yeah, right. Yeah. No. I mean, I felt better, but I didn't have this. I wasn't gonna lie and say, oh, I had this spiritual,
Yeah, right.
drop kick or whatever.
You took the hour.
I took the hour with God. I opened the Bible. I pointed the story I pointed at was Daniel in the lion's den, which is about faith. It's a cool little story. So I mean, I got that was cool. But anyway, during the amends process, the people at Lakeshore thought it would be a really important and good idea that I go back to Greenwich, Connecticut, where they had found me on the side of the highway, and make amends at that hospital. Especially since when I woke up, I was belligerent and Yeah. And so I was, nervous about going, but I said, yeah, I'll go. And so we made the 3-hour drive to Greenwich, and this is what happened. So when I got there, they allowed me to go up to the ICU, and the doctor that I had kind of been confrontational with, whatever, she was working that day. And I didn't remember her name, but I remembered exactly what she looked like because it was right up in her face. And so they allowed me to talk to her. And so one of the administrators brought me up there, and I said, hey, my name's Kristen. I was here 5 or 6 months ago, overdose. I extubated myself. I was really rude to you. I'm here. I'm just trying to, I don't think I would use the word amends, but I was like, I'm just trying to make this right, and, I owe you a conversation. And she was blank. She was just like, girl, do you know how many overdoses we see? And she's like, I'm so sorry, I don't remember you. Thanks for coming. That's cool, but I don't. And I was like, I'm a physician assistant. I'm from Nashville. You talked to my sister on the phone, and she went, oh my God, that's you? Yeah. And her whole face changed. Wow. Her eyes changed from brown to green right in front of my face. And I swear to God, I saw God. I swear. It was like this feeling come over me when she was like, first of all, I thought you died. I thought you died in the hospital. Like, I guess I wasn't there the next day. She figured I died because I had all kinds of complications. I can't even believe I was only there for like 24, 48 hours. But she's like, I thought you died. Wow. And she's like, I can't believe that you're sober.
Right.
You're in recovery. You've driven here from Boston to tell me you're sorry. I'm like, well, no, not sorry. Just kind of make it right in a karmic sense. You know, I'm like, I'll pick up trash in the parking lot. Like, what do I need to do to make this right? Because I wasted your time, and I was a real asshole and whatever. And she was just like, I just can't even believe you're sober and you're here. She's like, you just gave me an emotional paycheck. Like, I can't even. She just couldn't even. She was like, and so she's crying. I'm crying. The people that are eavesdropping at the nurse's station are crying. I was just like, it was
bunch
amazing.
of ear hustlers. Like, who is she? What's she doing?
Right?
What's that lady saying?
Right. It was just amazing. And when I walked out, I just was like, I don't know. I just felt the presence of God in my life, and it's still there.
And
oh, it's awesome.
Therein lies the 9th step, promises.
Yeah, which I remember being at a meeting when I was doing my 90 meetings in 90 days. They were reading the promises. Before you're halfway through, you'll know this new way of life or whatever. And I went up to the person. I'm like, before you're halfway through what?
Yeah, you know how many times I've heard that?
Halfway through. They couldn't answer it. They were like, well, I'm like, what, 45 meetings? Step 6? Yeah. Like, what's halfway through? I don't know. And they didn't know. But those are the 9 step promises. And I was almost exactly halfway through my amends. It was like right on cue. It happened. Wow. So it's real, people.
And the people that don't have this and they see what recovery can do, like, it blows them away. It blows them away. Like, I've had people that are like, same thing. Like, I think I know you, but looking at you, you're not who I think I remember. Yeah. You know, like it talks about in the book.
Right.
You know? It's crazy where we can transform so much just by doing some work. You know, and like, I've heard stories where people have gone to make amends at stores, and the person that they're making the amends to may not be the person that was working when it happened, but then they're like, you're in recovery? My daughter's a heroin addict, or my nephew, or and then boom, like now you're 12-stepping someone. You know what I mean? And you're doing more than that amends. You know?
Yeah, you get the hope.
Living exactly the way we're supposed to.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? Because they're like, I said it before, now it's 2019. People still don't know how to get involved in recovery. Like, how? I don't get that. You know? That's why we do this. You know?
Yep.
And that's why we want people that aren't in recovery. And, you know, hopefully I got some really good guests coming up soon.
Yeah?
Yes.
We got a good guest tonight.
Yes. Excellent. And so now what is going on with Kristen?
So I was at Lakeshore for 6 months. I was a monitor there the last couple of months. And then I moved to Brady's Women's Sober Living House in Quincy. I was one of the first women there. And I picked a really tough sponsor, Beth. And I picked her on purpose. I love her to death, and she keeps me on track. And I wanted her serenity. You know, when you meet somebody that's, you know, has a similar story to yours. You know, we're around the same age. She's a nurse. We have a lot in common. You know, just it gives me something to aspire to.
Right.
So I did what she told me, and you know, she said, you know, the usual: don't date anybody for a year. I still haven't. Stay in sober living at least 6 months. So I did.
Yep.
I was there for like 8 months. I was house manager there for a little while. I just recently moved into a house where I'm renting a room from a friend of mine. So
nice.
I've recently graduated from sober living, but I felt like it was time, and that was cool. But I enjoyed sober living actually. I had, oh my gosh, some of the friends I made there, some of the laughs we had, like there's just.
I ended up in sober living at like 7 years sober, 8 years sober, something like that. And it was just.
How does that happen?
I was helping a friend manage the house.
Okay.
And my apartment was, my sister had nowhere to go, so I moved her and her daughter into my apartment. I paid the bills there. I managed over here. that was some of the best times
Yeah.
of my life.
Yeah.
Was in sober living. You know, just the camaraderie.
I had fun
Yeah,
at
I
Lakeshore
remember it.
too.
You know, the-
you know?
you know, cooking dinner, just catching wreck on each other all the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was. It's awesome to be surrounded by like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
It's,
You know?
it is cool. And
Yeah.
I remember it very fondly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You
And the
have a
structure of it, the safety net, I needed that. You know, the
Yes.
twice
Yep.
weekly urine test, the having to go to meetings.
Mhm.
It set some habits that I still carry into non-sober living now, where I still feel like if I haven't gone to 3 or 4 meetings a week, I'm like missing something.
right.
I still
right.
meditate every day. I still have my sober buddies. I still get up and do a chore in the morning, even though I don't have one assigned. I'm like, oh, I have to do a chore. You know,
But
I'm
that's
still
good.
in
That's
that mindset.
discipline.
Cool.
That's-
Yeah.
very
That's
cool.
Right?
that's what
Yeah.
us alcoholics need.
Yeah.
Discipline.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we don't have
Yeah,
it,
I
then we
lacked that for a long
veer off.
time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I make my bed still.
Yeah, I
every
still I
morning.
make my bed. Yeah.
Sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I do.
I still write 10
Be aware,
step
I'm giving you a
inventory almost
verbal
every
pull-up.
night.
Right?
Some watching may know. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No,
From our treatment.
so I work in a program here in Quincy. I work for Northeast. So I
Okay.
manage one of their sober homes for women that are in their program. That's kind of like where they go at night. So I've been there for maybe 6
Is
months.
it Greenleaf?
It's Ryden.
Okay.
It's the other one. It's like
Okay.
their phase 2 for women.
Mm.
Yeah. I was at Greenleaf originally. So yeah, I work with some great women there.
Do you have that doctor on social as a friend on any kind of social
What doctor?
media? The one that you made the amends to?
No.
No, so you're not in touch with her at all.
No. I don't know, but whenever I had when I was a provider, if I had patient like friend request me, it was usually kind of awkward and creepy. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
You just didn't really.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
keep the professional aspect of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But yeah, good question. So I work for Northeast. I volunteer here at New Way Recovery Center. When I was still at Lakeshore, I started dabbling in meditation because I found that meditation for me was very calming, getting into this present moment, mindfulness.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Vipassana meditation been very, very just it's just crucial for me.
What's it called? Vipassana?
Yeah, it's a mindfulness. It's just a fancy name for mindfulness meditation.
Okay.
So I kind of like really through trial and error, I just learned how to, just be the meditation guide. Like, go ahead and take a nice few deep cleansing breaths.
Oh, for yourself.
No, for everybody.
Oh, for everybody.
No. Like I do it for groups.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, cool,
So I do that
cool.
here now. So I have a
alright.
meditation group that I do here once a week. And then I'll do them sporadically.
Do you
I have
know
a few
Mike?
friends. Oh yeah, Meditation Mike. Yeah, he's a bomb.
Good friend of mine.
Yeah, he's
a very
great.
good dude.
So yeah, I do a class similar to what he was doing here for a while. And then a few months ago, I got certified in Reiki, which is like hands-on healing. We had a Reiki session last week.
Yep, I experienced it last week.
Yeah. What'd you think?
I was great. I felt great after.
Yeah.
And it was the second time I did it in a month.
Yeah, that's good.
And like things that have bothered me for years are like, whatever.
Right.
You
Oh,
know? Yeah.
You mean mentally?
Yes.
Wow.
And
It's interesting.
a lot of things have changed because correct me if I'm wrong. It's to open up the things inside ourselves for our own healing.
Correct.
Like we have healing powers in ourselves, but everything is blocked.
Right.
So what she does is try and unblock those
Yeah.
so that our own energy can heal the things that are bothering us.
I've always had this thing
Huh.
called my fellow providers, doctors, and NPs I worked with called it my spidey sense. But I used to be able to. One of the reasons I got into medicine was because I've always felt like I was a healer. I wanted to help people, and so I've always been able to like lay my hands on patients and be able to tell if something's serious or not. Not if something's fake or not, but if something like needs like, surgery or or is like, we need to take a look at that. I've always had this tingle in my hands with something. And they used to pull me into different patients' rooms to have me lay my hands on people because it seemed to make people feel better. It would drain me though.
Yeah, right.
But since
Wow.
I've learned Reiki, it actually, I've kind of been trained to harness the universal energy around us. Reiki is from 2 Japanese words, rei, which means higher power, and ki, which means energy. And it's just kind of like harnessing that through my crown chakra, through my hands onto you. You know, I first had it done. I got a scholarship to a end of life cancer retreat when I was dying in 2012. Actually, I think it was in 2014. I went to a retreat in North Carolina for cancer patients. And that's the first time I'd had Reiki done on me. And as a medical person, scientist, skeptic, I was kind of like, this is bullshit. The whole time they were working on me, I was like, all right, whatever.
The whole spiritual and scientific shit just doesn't.
But I'm not going to say it cured my cancer. But it definitely made me feel better. It did something. I was like, there's something to this. Like, I can't throw this out the window. Like, there's something to this. So when the opportunity came up for me to learn Reiki, I was like, yeah, I think I should. And I asked my friend who was teaching me, I was like, oh, it might drain me, though, like medicine. She's like, no. If you harness it right, it actually jazzes you up. Yeah. And it's true.
And it's like the first one, I had it done a real long time ago after one of my spin drives out of Catholic Charities, which ain't even in existence anymore. And after, like, I was just laying there and, like, I didn't want to get sober, like, whatever. But after, the lady was like, she's like, this was pretty weird for me. Like, have you ever thought of, like, looking into this? And I'm like, no. Then went on fucking years more of heroin use. And, but just recently at Open Doors, like, I could feel the heat off of the woman's hands as well as you. Like, it was, you know.
Yeah, sometimes
I don't think it's bullshit.
Sometimes my hands get so hot, I think I have like stigmata on my palms, or I like have to actually recoil, like like flame. So like
I could
feel
it. It was.
I'll tell you what. Mike sent me to a woman in Hingham when my back was real bad, and I had like this other thing going on with my neck.
A crick in your neck.
Well, and it was really weird, and I was saying it was psychosomatic, but it was like some sort of pain, like intense pain.
Yeah.
And it would be when I tried to meditate. I would try to, he'll tell me to sit up straight and stuff, and don't use the back of the chair, and all of a sudden my neck would start this intense pain.
You want to arrange your spine like a stack of coins when you meditate.
Yeah, but to me, I think it would have to do with my posture, because I've always had bad posture, and I've worked on it in recent years. But anyway, she sent me to this lady, and it was not. She was a massage, but it was like a energy healing type of massage. And I tell you what, it was not a normal thing. It was like, I was like, I don't know. I felt like, you know, the hairs standing up in the back of your neck, and like heat or something coming out of the top of my head, type of thing. And she said that she had an image of like a snake leaving my body.
Really?
Yeah. And it was like, you know, I usually don't share those things with people, but I don't know.
Did you have to
I don't
poop?
know. I just told it.
Sorry.
Nice.
No, but it was definitely very strange. I wish I could remember what the heck it was called. Some sort of energy healing thing.
Brown snake?
Yeah. No.
Sorry.
But yeah, there's something to it.
TMI.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, like I've seen videos of like Japanese healers and stuff, and like this is like Fleur, and you can see the heat coming out of their hands. Like they're like, and get it going, and then it's like, you know, like friggin'. What was that game back in the day? Shoryuken! You know what I mean? Street Fighter, exactly. Like throwing energy balls and shit.
Oh, I'm going to have to work on that. Yeah. I think that might be my 2019 resolution, is to like create energy balls.
Sonic boom!
Yeah, right?
Yeah, but like you see that stuff. You know what I mean? Like you could see it.
I've seen videos of that stuff too, yeah. You see the one where the guy catches the paper on fire?
Yes. It's in his hand.
It's chi, yeah.
It's in his hand, and he's just holding it, and he's like,
right.
And all of a sudden, there's smoke, and then there's fucking fire, like from his hand.
Yeah. No, I don't know
Crazy.
if that's fake, but
whatever.
It's kind of like believing in that kind of stuff. It's not going to do you wrong. It's like somebody said it one time in a meeting, like believing in a higher power. Or Santa Claus. People that believe in stuff like that, they're happier.
Exactly.
So what if
it's not
in the end,
do you wrong. That's right.
What if in the end it doesn't really exist? You were happy your whole life believing it.
Right.
So
right. And like there's a lot of our brain that we don't use,
Absolutely.
and I don't know what powers a human could possess. You know what I mean?
One thing that I've come to, I mean, I'm a Christian, okay, but one thing I've come to believe is that for sure is that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience.
Right.
Right.
You know, this isn't all there is.
Right. No.
It's ludicrous to think that. I just don't believe.
Yeah,
it.
and
It's so far fetched.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
yeah, there's been some things recently that have reminded me of that. You know, like I don't know, this might have happened before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just like I don't know, weird.
Deja vu.
Yeah, but like just something so familiar that like this just didn't happen. You know what I mean?
I've had premonition dreams, I believe, and it's a really weird one. I'll share it. When I was a kid, I had a feeling. The dream came along with a feeling, an intense feeling. It used to scare me, and I'd had it again and again and again. And it was a feeling of claustrophobia, like someone's holding you down and you can't get up. And it came with an image, a close-up image of a needle piercing, like a soft, fleshy thing.
Yeah. And you ended up a heroin addict.
Yeah. And I believe that was a premonition dream.
Yeah.
Sent to me.
Did you get relief when it pierced the skin?
No.
Or-
No.
Fear.
Fear.
Just
Scared to death.
intense fear, and I would hate it, and I would be afraid to go to sleep because I was afraid it was going to happen.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a bad dream, and then it went away.
Yeah, because you
Not
started
not
shooting
really.
heroin.
No,
Then it
No, it
became a
came
fucking
true.
nightmare.
It came true.
Yeah.
No,
Nightmare.
This is when I was like 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Like before I moved out of my grandparents' house with my mother and went back to with my father when I was 7. So that was basically the end of it. I think there might have been 1 or 2 times in the new house that I had it.
Yeah.
But it was all in the old house.
Wow.
Yeah. Intense.
So, you actually volunteer here doing Reiki.
I do. Yeah.
Thursdays.
And I'm going to start starting next week on Fridays, I'll do a meditation class in the morning. I'll do Reiki throughout the afternoon. And it's free for members here. So, you know, if you're local and you want to come down, we would love to see you. And free Reiki. Reiki is usually like $1 a minute if you go to a clinic.
Yeah.
So, and then at 6:30 on Fridays, I'm going to start a refuge recovery.
That I'm looking
repair,
forward
which,
to that.
I mean, I've done AA. I'm active in AA. I've done the steps. I have 5 sponsees right now. I'm very active in AA, and I believe in it. But for me, as like an adjunctive or extra kind of thing, refuge recovery has been life saving for me.
Yes, I attended Rebel Recovery over in
Yeah,
Salty, and
it's similar.
when I went to that every week, shit would happen, and it would be like water off a duck's back. Like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there's a there's a meme that's people have been sharing. It's like, oh, me in 2019, and it's Shaq, and he's standing there, and he's like, drama. You know, like swatting all this shit away, and like that's how I felt when I was attending that meeting every week, because you know it was a half-hour meditation. Then there was a speaker. You're sitting on pillows. You're just mad chill.
Yeah.
And the energy in the room was amazing.
Yeah. So that's what we're gonna do here.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll have it in that room, which is next door. There's a flat screen TV. So instead of reading from the book, we could read from the book. There's a little controversy with Refuge, and the founder of Refuge has kind of had to step down just due to some allegations and stuff. And he wrote the book, and some people aren't real crazy about using their big book right now. But whatever. We could watch a Dharma talk on the flat screen. You know, like we could actually watch something, the Dalai Lama, or I could pipe in a meditation and do it. And I usually supplement it with a little bit of, with a Bluetooth speaker, some incense. I usually sage the room. That's like spiritual hand washing.
Cool.
It, it helps the energy.
I met
and maybe even
llama
some
named
Reiki.
Charlie. One time.
Charlie Llama.
Charlie Llama,
Nice.
yeah.
You've met the
The
Charlie Llama.
Drama.
Right? Oh,
No
that's
drama
funny.
with the Charlie Llama.
Nice.
So yeah, that's gonna start.
That's
on
starting January 11th.
January 11th.
Yeah, so Fridays from 6:30 to 7:45.
I think I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Refuge Recovery will be here at New Way Recovery Center in Quincy, starting January 11th from 6:30 to 7:45
On what day?
on Fridays.
On Fridays.
Yes.
And I'm going to give a shout out to the 24-hour power next Saturday. Let me see if I can pull up the information.
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday.
Saturday night.
Just give me a second, and you guys can talk amongst yourselves.
Okay.
I'm getting a little verklempt.
Let's talk about him.
Let's see.
What the hell?
24 hour. There we go.
So my long range plan is to go back to school because, like I said, I'm on borrowed time. I'm
Yes.
living for other people now. You know, I'm helping my sponsees. I'm trying to do the next right thing, trying to change the
Cool.
world even in a little way, but maybe on a grander scale. I'm applying to Harvard University's doctorate in public health program with the Chan School
cool.
of Public Health. Yeah,
Nice.
so I'm in the process of getting my up. They actually recruited me a few years ago. Even during my alcoholic escapades, I've always managed to do pretty well in school. So, you know, they invited me to apply. I don't know if I'll get in and if I can afford it, but maybe starting next fall, I would love to do a doctorate in public health and to be able to help people on a bigger scale. We're very blessed here in Massachusetts. We actually have pretty good laws as far as recovery. You know, we have mass health. A lot of states don't have, you know, health insurance for everybody. You know, just coming from Tennessee, I know that there, you know, like it is a lot. There's a lot more meetings up here. There seems like, you know, there's maybe a little bit less stigma. I don't know, but I'd like to make it even better, you know, and really help people, you know. So that's my long-term goal.
So
Cool. Very good. Thank you.
we had a guest on not too long ago, Susan Lordy, and she does
Lordy.
recovery graffiti. And her next event is going to be at the Life Quest Community Church, 365 South Avenue, Whitman, Mass. And it's going to be a ongoing thing every third Saturday night.
She does recovery graffiti.
So you can paint, you can spray paint, you can use acrylics. Like there's so many different mediums that you can use, and like she has it once a month right now at Buffalo Wild Wings in Brockton.
Can you spray paint inside though?
Probably have to wear one of those masks.
Yeah, well, it depends. But this will be on Saturday, the 12th of January, from 7 to 10 p.m. The Life Quest Community Church, like the couple that owns that place, they're great, and they really want to bring a lot of recovery stuff into their establishment, and it's gonna be every third Saturday. So if you ain't doing nothing on the third Saturday of the month, then you can go and do some graffiti
Graffiti
with a bunch of sober people.
Yeah.
And
And
we
the
went
Life on
to
Life's Terms podcast is going to be
yes,
there
we
next
shall be
Saturday.
broadcasting live from there
Yeah, and you guys
at the
can check-
kickoff event.
Tune that out. It's we're going to start probably broadcasting probably around 7
Yeah,
p.m. Saturday night.
and we'll
right?
pop in and out, and
In and out.
you know, maybe we can walk around. Maybe I can go live on the phone and show you guys some stuff too, so that we're not just like stuck behind a computer screen.
Right.
We want this thing to grow, you know, and
Yep.
and eventually be able to help people.
Absolutely.
You know,
As much
but
as
baby
possible.
steps, baby steps.
Baby steps.
So, anything else you want to plug?
Not that I can think
You
of.
did a very good job.
Yes,
Thorough
thank you.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were
Incredible.
supposed to be on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't
And
remember what
you
happened. And
You had hurt your back
oh yeah, are you
because
feeling better?
our guest had bailed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and,
they stepped-
and
they-
Corey had asked
Yeah.
her.
I was doing Reiki here. I was doing
Yes.
Reiki here today. You
Yes,
know, and so
and she was already here.
they were like, "You
and
want
then
to
I
do
said,
a
"Hey, I can't
podcast?"
find
I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
and like
Let's do
all the
it.
timing just didn't work out.
Oh,
But I've thought about it, and like I think even if we don't have a guest, we should just show up and do it.
just show up and do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to do
And
that.
you know, we can do a Q&A, we can do whatever. You know, like people throw out a topic. You know, I wrote a song about it. Well, here you go. You know, like I think we just need to keep it going because we didn't broadcast and people were like, hey, where
Right.
are you guys?
Yeah.
You know, that's
a
pretty
bummer.
cool.
Yeah.
You know,
That is actually cool, but it's a bummer that we weren't there.
Yeah.
for it.
so we're gonna try not to let that happen in 2019.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks everybody for
Yes.
tuning in.
Thanks
and
everybody for
listening.
tuning in, and
please subscribe to the podcast, the audio podcast, and that's gonna be
Yes, I've had a lot of people message me about coming on here, and I'm not ignoring you. I will get back to everybody. I gotta, life's been a little crazy with the holidays, so once again, anyone that wishes to come on here, please message myself, Tom, or the Life on Life's Terms podcast page. We want to hear your story. We want to share your story. We want to bring awareness to everywhere.
Yep.
And hit this from all angles, because it ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. Well,
but
hopefully it gets better.
yes, we can do our part to try and help it out, so it doesn't get even worse.
And with that, my vote's a yes.
Yes. Yeah. Simon, what do you say?
Thank you very much, Kristen.
Oh,
yes,
thank you. Thanks, guys, for having me.
All right. Peace out, people.
Peace.
And end.
That was fun.
Yes. Yeah. See, it just goes.